Hello everyone. This is the last lecture which is on smart city planning applications. So these geomatics tools you can use for urban planning, you can use for local area planning, and it has a great application in a smart city planning which we learned in this lecture. So let's begin that. If we look at this curve where it shows that how the rapid urbanization is taking place almost everywhere in the entire globe. We expect that by year 2030, our 60% of the population world population would be living in the city areas, in the urban areas. And by the year 2015, which is the prediction given in this curve here, we will have about 70% of the world population. So there will be a heavy load on the resources, whether we are talking of the energy, transportation, the water, the health facility, the education sector. So everywhere there will be a lot of load when 70% of the population will be living in our urban area. So this is really a very challenging problem, how to provide the adequate facilities to the growing population. India also, the population is growing at a very alarming rate, and the growth of rate is not actually matching with the infrastructure development. So always there will be a more demand on the resources, more demand on infrastructure as the population is migrating from the rural areas to the urban area. So we can see in this curve, even we feel that after some time the rural population, which is increasing, will decrease because there will be more and more migration to the urban cities. So this is the world trend which is going on. So what is a smart city? Let us understand that. So there is a need actually to provide the sustainable environment for this growing population. So this smart city is basically the use of the technology, and we use sensors, we use device, we use IT, and with the help of this technology we provide the services to the citizens, a better quality of life, better services to that. So if we look at the smart city concept, it will connect three capitals: the human capital, the social capital, and ICT infrastructure, which we have to develop or we already have that. So in the diagram also it's shown that we have the existing city, and this is to be transformed by several processes by using the latest and the modern technology, where geomatics will also play very important role here in the process of transformation, and ultimately the output is a smart city. Now there are several objectives of this smart city world over, and these are the common objectives for a smart city. We have to provide the basic minimum infrastructure for the population, for the growing population. Then improve the quality of life of the people. We should provide them very clean and a green environment, pollution free environment. We should provide smart solutions using the latest gadgets, devices, using IT technology, using Internet of Things, using wireless sensors, and so on. We should promote mixed land use. We should have the green housing concept, where we can conserve the power, make use of the alternate sources of the power, and provide the means to preserve that power also. We should create the walkable localities. We should preserve and develop more and more open space, green spaces, where we can plant more and more number of trees. We should promote a variety of the transport options, like a mixed concept also, that you can use all mixed mode of travels when you are traveling from one place to another. Then lastly, the making the governance citizen friendly, and cost effective. So this is also very, very important that there should be effective governance, good governance when everything is in the digital environment. So in these objectives, the geomatics tools and techniques which we have learned so far is going to play very, very important role in providing input data. It is providing the time series data also in order to take timely decisions. So there are 100 smart cities in India. India has identified 100 smart cities. 2015, 20 cities, then 2016, 40 more cities, 2017, 40 more cities were identified, and that makes the total 100. So these 100 cities have been identified on the basis of the existing infrastructure, on the basis of the population, and on the basis of the survey what the citizen requires. What is the topmost priority in a particular city? So if we look at the complete list in India, these are the 100 smart cities. So first column is showing the state name. Different states will have some cities. So second column is showing the number. So in some of these states you will find there are more than one. So we have like in Gujarat we have 6, we have Karnataka we have 6, we have 10 in Maharashtra, we'll have 12 in Tamil Nadu, we have 13 in Uttar Pradesh. So as per the size of the state, as per the population need, they have been identified. Some of these states have only one. So for example, Uttarakhand has only one, which is Dehradun. So these cities are to be converted into the smart cities. The facilities are to be converted into the smart facilities. Now this geospatial data is required at every stage when we are talking of right from the data collection to the planning to the implementation stage. So we see that we require this geospatial data at different levels, at different resolutions, at different time frames for city planning. So planning a city, for developing the infrastructure in that. So whether we want to develop the new roads or new railway line or city furniture or the public spaces or new bridges or this new stadium. So for every this in physical infrastructure planning, we require the data collected from the different devices, geomatics tools. Then we require the data for individual buildings. So we have to store the data for each and every building also here, so that we can make them energy efficient, we can make them green building. So all the data, you know, the type of construction, the number of story, the number of people who are living in that. So all that information will be stored. Now we are now aware with our background knowledge after attending this course that there are several tools, there are several geomatics tools and technology which we can use for a smart city development, for collecting the data. So here in this slide you can see a total station, a GPS, GPR, a laser scanner system, a LiDAR system, UAV system, the satellite images. So all these will provide input required for the smart city planning. So if we see the integration of this technology with the other data, so you can see that the first layer is the sensing layer. We have different types of sensors, we require different type of devices. So this sensing layer says that there is a sensor network, there are smart wearables, there are smartphones which can capture the data and also which will actually give me the real time information. Then we have the second layer which is called the data layer. So the data which is coming from the different sources, that's all managed here. We create a database and this database is accessible to us. The third layer is called the business layer, where we will develop some models, we'll integrate the data. So it's analytics and modeling part, it is the visualization of the data, taking some decision support systems and so on. And finally is the application layer. We are applying the input which is derived from this data for health application, for intelligent building application, or for utility, for sanitation, for urban planning, for education sector. So this is all the application layer where the data would come from the first layer. Now, there are potential uses of this geomatics in a smart city planning. Now, when we are talking of the smart city planning, it could be urban planning as a whole in the urban area, land use planning and management, or we are developing some kind of a emergency response systems where we are using the capabilities of remote sensing, GIS and GPS data. Health facilities planning, we want to develop new health facilities in a particular area. So it's like a location allocation modeling. Parking area planning, because really a big problem in all the major cities that there is no parking space, and particularly the tourist locations are facing this difficulty. So parking area planning, where the driver is communicated well in advance whether the parking space is available or not. Then new infrastructure planning is another area. Tourism planning, because a lot of areas where the revenue could be generated from the tourism only, like in Uttarakhand we have Char Dham, where tourism activity is growing at a very fast pace, and a better tourism planning can be carried out with the help of these geomatics tools. Then online property tax management. So this is billing, collection of the part, online collection of the utilities, phone bills, etc., and the grievance readdressal. So this is also a very, very important part. You can provide the feedback, and you can actually upload your grievances which could be attended electronically. So this is all the potential applications. Now if we look at the some of the tools and some of the devices which we are using for collecting the data. This is a ground penetrating radar device, and the data is collected below the ground, because all the utilities in the smart city, they are to be buried under the ground. So whether it is a telephone line or electric line or power line, or it is a cable, or it is a gas line, these are all have to be buried under the ground, and there should be proper mapping. And that you can actually carry out with the help of this device, which is called ground penetrating radar device, so that wear and tear is minimum, and also you spend less amount of money in maintenance work. So when the facilities are over the ground, you can have the broken poles, and due to the strong wind, sometimes you have the cut off on the electricity because the poles are broken. So that kind of problem will not be there when we have underground utilities. Now if you are talking about the intelligent transportation systems in a smart city, then in this intelligent transportation systems, the geomatics tools will provide a lot of information to us, and this will provide us improved safety. Accidents will be less. We will have the improved traffic efficiency. We will have the reduced traffic congestion, because this is again a big issue and big problem in major cities of the country, and as a matter of fact the worldwide. So we can reduce the traffic congestion if we have the advanced information with us. We can improve the environmental quality and energy efficiency, because a lot of emissions are done by these vehicles which are moving on the road. And we can have the improved economic productivity with the help of the latest devices and developing the intelligent transportation systems. These GPS and GIS and also the high resolution images will be used in emergency services. So these emergency services in the smart city areas like police, ambulance, fire services will be equipped with all the modern geomatics tools, so that you can avail emergency services in case required. Now it is believed that our car in immediate future, near future, will have the sensors. So car will communicate with the other car, car will communicate with the other objects. So if you look at this slide here, we have the GPS fitted, video cameras, we have microphone, radar sensors, infrared sensor, pressure sensor, which will tell me the pressure, air pressure in the tires. We have ultrasonic sensors, we have the fuel sensor, then AC sensor, rear camera. So everything in that car will be governed by the sensor systems, and the person who is driving the vehicle, who is operating this vehicle, will be informed, will by these sensors the information will go to the device, and accordingly the action could be taken. Now this car will not only communicate with the other cars moving on the road, but it will communicate with the different infrastructures. So vehicle to other object connectivities is shown, vehicle to pedestrian connections will be there, vehicle to infrastructure, which is like a traffic light on the road, vehicle to cloud, vehicle to home, vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to network. So these are the things which will be connected in a smart city when we have the vehicles which is fitted with the various devices and the sensor systems. Then this will be all the time connected with the various objects. Now for mapping purpose, in infrastructure mapping or mapping in a new area where facilities are to be developed, these 3D laser scanners are very useful because they provide us point cloud data of the entire terrain and very useful for carrying out the planning and designing activity. Now if we look at the smart constructions, so many of the constructions activities, bigger construction activities, they are using these modern devices, and that is why they are called the smart construction. So it is expected that in a smart city also the construction will be smart in the sense that everything, every information will be connected with the GPS. As you can see, the person is operating the GPS and total station, and there are large number of devices which are installed in the area, and these devices are communicating to each other, sharing the data product, and also helping the engineer on the field when they are working in the field, that how much is the amount of excavations required, very precise excavation will be done, or it will check the verticality and horizontality of the various components. So whenever you have a 3D model of the structure, and then these devices are also working on the basis of the coordinate systems, the point cloud data. So there will be one-to-one coordination between the actual drawing and the data which will be collected at the site. So that is why this is called a smart construction. So these geometrics tools will help us in making the construction very precise. Then mobile 3D mapping systems, which you have seen earlier also, this can actually collect the data for a larger area. So when you are planning a new urban area, new urban setup, then the data has to be collected very fast in the 3D environment. So you require some kind of a system which can be mounted on the vehicle and collect the data about that area. Then we require satellite images. Now this is the example of urban growth of Bangkok city, for example. So there are various scenarios which have been created using old maps, topographical maps, and the satellite images. So from 1900 to 1993, for example, this scenario shows that how a particular city has grown over a period of time. Now there is a river which is flowing through the city. This also shows us that whether the city is growing towards north or towards south or towards the eastern side of the river or the western side of the river. So this all actually trend analysis, the pattern analysis one can carry out, and also carry out the study that what kind of infrastructure would be required to support the growing population in that particular region. So the growth, urban growth can be determined using sequential satellite images. So, we have very, very high resolution satellite images nowadays where we can find out each and every building. If we want the three-dimensional coordinates of the building, the height of the building, which we cannot get directly from the satellite image, then we have the technology available, the LiDAR technology, and here you can get the height of the individual buildings. Now, UAV is another technology where you are collecting the data from a lower altitude from the drone, and then you are creating a 3D model of the entire area, entire infrastructure. So, these kind of images are very, very helpful to carry out very precise planning in the area. Now, unauthorized construction can also be located if you have the sequential images at a very, very high resolution. For example, the circle here is showing the unauthorized construction. So, this is also another big problem in major cities, that there are unauthorized construction which are not approved by the local authority. We can determine that. Now, when we are doing some construction, then drones can help us a lot. So, in modern construction industry, one can see that drones are monitoring the construction activity. So, there is one drone here, there is another drone, there is a third one, there is a fourth one drone. So, there are different drones which are operating in the area at different heights, and they are used either for building inspection work or for providing the materials for the client and the staff, or monitoring the on-site activity or security applications, because this is also one of the major issue nowadays. So, these drones are continuously stationed at a particular height, and they are collecting the data and providing the data to the engineer who is not at the site physically, but who is sitting somewhere else and still watching the construction from there. This shows that how the construction site of the future are expected to be. We have a building information model, and we have the infrastructure which is connected. One can see now here there are several sensors and drone which are shown in this slide, and then there are certain devices which are connected to each other. So, there are equipment which are sensor based equipment, then there are geomatics tools which are providing us the data. So, everything is communicated, and the whether the manager or the supervisor or the engineers, they are supervising the whole thing into their system. So, you can see here or this side or this side that they are all digitally connected. So, every information is actually coming to their system, and they can from there itself they can monitor the quality of the construction, or they can give the instructions. Now, the drones are also useful in several other activities of smart city, whether we want to inspect our infrastructure. So, when we are inspecting our infrastructure, maybe a railway line, maybe a road, so road develops a lot of potholes. So, that also repair of the potholes can be carried out, or the railway track, if it requires some maintenance and repair work. So, that can be carried out with the help of the low flying drones in the area, or it is a delivery of the goods. So, that is also very successfully being used in many countries, where the drones are delivering goods to the people in the urban area. Then traffic monitoring. So, whether the traffic is moving smoothly, or somebody is breaking the rules and regulations of the traffic. Then environmental monitoring, because there is a lot of environmental pollution in the area. So, what is the pollution level in the environment? That also there are sensors, environmental sensors which are fitted on the UAV. So, one can do that. There is one new area which is the taxi UAV. So, UAVs are expected to fly up in the sky at a certain height, at a lower height, and can move much faster than uh, because there's a lot of traffic on the road, so maybe the taxis or the vehicles cannot move at a high speed. There are traffic lights and there are congestions on the road, so these can take you faster from one place to another, this taxi. So how that flying taxis, or what we call the passenger drones, or urban air mobility vehicles, so that is shown over here. This is a flying taxi which will fly at a certain height above the ground and will move much faster, will take you from one place to another place. So if we look at the details, they are just like helicopter. They will take off and land vertically. So from the rooftop itself, you can control the entire thing. And this is a four-seater, for example. It can fly at 600-meter height, and it can travel 30 to 160 kilometer at a speed of 100 to 270 kilometer speed. So these are expected to come in the market very soon, and then when these are available, then we'll have less traffic congestion on the roads, because the people can use these facilities. Now, when we are talking of the smart city framework for India, there are actually physical infrastructure planning which is required. And the physical infrastructure planning is energy, water, waste, mobility, real estate. Then there is a social infra planning, where we are talking about the health, education sector, the safety of the people, the culture, the citizen services will be provided. The third aspect is the environmental planning, where we will talk about the climate change, we will talk about the less pollution, we will talk about the management of the disaster and city specific environmental planning. And then the last part is the governance. So these are related to the development of the policies and operate the policies, and then communicating with the citizens. So if we see the how the smart city will look like when we are carrying out the planning using these modern devices and gadgets, we can have a lot of savings of the energy. We can manage our energy very well, because it will not just the grid energy which will be used, but it will be energy which will be created from the solar, it will be created from the alternate sources, and then we'll have the energy management system, fuel management system at different places. Now, if we look at the some examples in our country, this is Gujarat International Finance Tech City, which is called GIFT City. This is the entire planning of the GIFT City. You can see the different colors are indicating the different features which have been planned, and there are some circular kind of a road which are connecting basically the entire facility. The inner circle and the outer circle is connecting the entire facilities, entire locality of the area. So this entire planning is done on the high resolution satellite image using the capabilities of the GPS. So this is the complete master plan. You can also develop the master plan of any smart city area with the help of those high resolution satellite images, and then use the using the GPS, you can geotag it onto the ground. Now, using this master plan, then one has to carry out the planning of the new roads, planning of the new infrastructure. So here GIS is playing very important role, because now when you are developing the new area, you have to actually connect it, and when you are connecting it, you have to provide the external connectivity, because there is hardly any road or hardly any space which would be available within the dense area. So you are providing for example the metro corridor or the road corridor to the area, so that all entire planning you can do in the GIS environment. This is another example where the for Faridabad city, which is again the smart city, the entire planning is done, as you can see in this screenshot, that with the help of the satellite image, high resolution satellite image, and different layers have been created in the GIS environment, and each layer is storing a specific information on the ground. Now, this is a Naya Raipur area, and in this Naya Raipur area, the entire planning is done at a GIS based platform. And whether we are talking of the land management, we are talking of the environmental and recreational facilities or investment planning. So this entire thing has been done at the GIS platform, and this is the ICT enabled smart solution. Now this is Bhendi Bazaar, and it shows that how this area will look like. So this is the actual image of the area, and then this is the present image, and this is the future image. So you can actually create a 3D model using the three-dimensional data and create a scenario. So this is a satellite data, and this is, you can see the entire planning has been done on the high resolution satellite image. Now we talk about the Dehradun in Uttarakhand as a smart city planning. So again, the smart city planning has been done on high resolution images, as you can see in the background, and then several localities, several infrastructure has been identified, and the entire planning has been carried out. Some modifications have been carried out now in the GIS environment for this is the Gandhi Park area for several areas in Dehradun. So when we have the smart city planning for various aspects, whether we are talking of the women safety, whether we are talking of the education sector or emergency survey or tourism, we can connect actually individual with the help of some kind of a app. So this is the mobile app which can be converted. So when we have actually this kind of facilities where remote sensing, GIS, GPS and LiDAR based technology is playing very important role, and we create these smart cities, then it is expected that there will be impact of this transfer. We will not have just high rise buildings, we will not have just the smart buildings, but what we will have in addition to improved city management, or we will have the continuous economic growth, we will have the enhanced quality of life, we have the sustainable urbanization. So this is very important, and it is expected that within 20 years, we are going to create lot of revenue. 15 billion US dollar revenue are going to be created. 9.5% would be the additional growth, 30% would be the energy efficiency, and 375k will be the new jobs created. So this will have a huge economic impact on us. Now, if we look at what is the future scope of the geomatics tools in different sectors, not only in the smart city application, but whenever we are talking of the health issues, the education, or we are talking of the population resources, providing the clean water, sustainable development and the climatic change and energy sector, there are very large number of areas which have been identified. So there are 15 areas which have been identified for the future, where geomatics tools are going to play very important role and helping us in better and better planning and management in these areas. Thank you very much.